Okay, hey Jose and Kamani. This is a video for you two. Just a little catch up on what we've been working on in writing. We are writing a type of story called a fable. Fables are a special kind of story. And you know what? This is all written. It's in a message in Seesaw. If you go into the inbox, you'll find this also. But fables they're stories with a moral. And a moral is like a lesson about life. Okay. And the characters are animals. And the animals you're going to find they have human traits. And the human traits, we call that personification. And again, this is if you look in the inbox in Seesaw, I have a little message that has all this information. So what I'm saying is the animals, the characters will all be animals, but then they'll have characteristics like humans, like they'll talk and they'll have different personalities. Like some might be kind and caring, others might be unkind and bullies, some might be hardworking, some might be lazy. These are all ways that humans behave, and so the animals are like that in the story. So there's stories that have a moral, like a lesson, and then the characters are animals with human traits, personification. And these are from folklore. Morals come from folklore. And what I mean by that is they're passed down from generation to generation. Like these stories were heard by a dad telling his kid the stories, and then those kids get older, they have kids, they tell their kids the story, and so on. So these stories, they started out, they weren't written down, they were passed down by being told. And there's certain fables that are parts of different cultures and things like that. And so, for example, like the tortoise and the hare, that's a good example. And the lesson there is, you shouldn't be cocky like the hare was. He thought he could beat the tortoise in a race easily, so he didn't try his best. And then the tortoise ended up beating him, right? So that's the lesson learned. So that's what we're going to be working on. And I have an example here, which I just lost the page of where it was. So let me find it. Hold up. Sorry. It's back. I wrote it in the wrong place. I accidentally wrote it in the math section. So, okay, here we are. So, okay. All right, so this is a fable called The Owl and the Mountain Lion. All right, so sit back and while I read this to you, get these pennies out of the way from math class. And let's look for the personification, the human traits that the animals have, and let's look for the moral. What's the lesson that I want you to learn from this story? The owl watched the mountain lion from his favorite branch. As usual, the mountain lion was stomping around through the forest, terrorizing any free little creature that crossed his path. He was the most feared bully in the woods. Owl didn't like bullies, so whenever he could, he would swoop down and get in the mountain lion's face if he saw him picking on a helpless animal. He often wished Mountain Lion would change his ways so they could be friends. On this day, Owl was ready to swoop down to once again stop the bully who was chasing a terrified chipmunk down a path. Before the owl could swoop, there was a loud thump and the mountain lion's cries of pain and terror and pain. He had fallen down an old trapper's pit and couldn't get out. Perfect, said the owl to himself. That solves everyone's problem. However, all day long, Owl could hear the mountain lion's cries for help. Please, he wailed. Somebody, please help me. I can't get out. No way, laughed a rabbit who was passing by. Stay in there until you starve to death. What a great day for the forest! The rabbit cheered as he hopped off. Now Al had been swooping by to check and make sure that the mountain lion wasn't getting out, and each time he flew by his heart hurt a little more for the poor cat. Sure, he was a bully, and the owl hated that, but the owl was a kind-hearted bird as well. Finally he could stand it no longer. Searching the forest, he found a solid branch. Clutching it in his powerful talons, he flew over the pit and dropped it in next to the miserable mountain lion. Throughout the day the owl searched for solid branches, cruised by the pit, and dropped them in until the mountain lion was ready to climb up the branches out of the pit. "Stop!" cried the rabbit when he realized what the owl was doing. "You know what he'll do when he gets out." "If I was in there, I'd want someone to help me, wouldn't you?" "But he's a bully." "True, but all I can do is treat him the way I want to be treated." The mountain lion had heard the owl's words and thought about them. When the final branch was in place, the mountain lion crawled out. He looked at the owl and then slowly walked into the forest without saying a word. Owl could Owl could tell by the look on the mountain lion's face that he was not the same. About a week later, the rabbit was out looking for some fresh grass to eat. Suddenly the rabbit looked up and saw the mountain lion. I keep forgetting words, sorry. This should say mountain lion, right? Suddenly the rabbit looked up and saw mountain lion standing before him growling. "I'm dead meat," thought the rabbit, when he suddenly heard a yelp and turned around to see a coyote running away. It seems the coyote was looking for lunch, and the mountain lion's growls were for him, not the rabbit. The rabbit would have thanked the mountain lion, but he was so shocked he couldn't speak. The mountain lion smiled at the rabbit and quietly strode into the forest. From his favorite branch, the owl smiled down at the mountain lion, happy that the bully had become a friend to those in the forest. Okay, so my story, my fable, let's think. My characters were an owl, and what are his traits? He's kind and thoughtful. The mountain lion, he's a bully, right? And then there's a rabbit, he's selfish, fearful, he likes to tease. Selfish because he wouldn't help the lion because he knows what he would do. Fearful because he's scared of what the lion will do. And then he teases, he was making fun of the mountain lion for being in there. And then the moral, here's my moral. Kindness can solve a problem. Or maybe another moral is treat others the way you want to be treated. That's called the golden rule, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated. So that's my moral. That's the lesson here. Kindness can solve a problem. Owl could have left the mountain lion in there. He probably would have been right to do it. He's a bully. Now he can't hurt anyone else. But he thought, you know what? It makes me sad to hear him crying in there. And his kindness convinced the mountain lion to change his ways, right? So there's the lesson. If you want someone to stop being cruel, maybe show them kindness and it'll change them. So then, here are my events. Mountain lion was a bully. He fell and got trapped. Owl was kind and helped. And since he was shown kindness, mountain lion decided to to be kind also. I keep just writing mountain when I should be saying mountain lion. So what you're going to do today is I want you to think about your own fable. All right. I'm going to put a spot in the seesaw for you to write your own map of a fable. And I just want you to start by thinking, what's your moral? What do you want the lesson to be? There's all kinds of lessons. There's lessons like don't be lazy, hard work pays off, selfishness is not good. There's all kinds of lessons that you can teach people with your story. So what I'm going to want you to do is come up with a moral. Here, I have another spot in my book with the map. Hang on a second. All right, so here's our fable outline, and I'm going to make a copy of this in the seesaw for you. So I want you to think, what's your moral? What's your lesson to learn? And then characters. I want you to have at least two animals. You could have more if you wanted, but at least two. All right? Ignore that. So think of one character and what's his human traits. What's his personality like? And then another character. Character two, what's his human traits? All right? And then story events. Again, you are not writing the whole story right now. Okay? You are not writing a whole thing like this. You are just writing 4 simple events that map out your story. You're just doing a simple outline. All right? That's all you're doing. Okay? So, I'll put this up in Seesaw. This will be your job today. And we're coming up with our own fables. All right? All right, sounds good.